Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
Greyhound is calling on the Department of Homeland Security to prove that all detainees released by ICE test negative for the virus before they board its buses. Greyhound CEO David Leach says the bus line's top priority is the health and safety of employees and passengers, and that this is an issue of public safety. Leach sent a letter to DHS last week just as it was revealed at least 108 illegal immigrants released in Texas had tested positive for the virus. Leach is asking the department for assistance with a potential surge in migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border. He says with the pandemic, the company doesn't have enough buses or drivers to cope and says they will need emergency funding. A sheriff in Texas claims the Biden administration is doing something that's never been done before in U.S. history. It's contacting asylum seekers who've been rejected and encouraging them to reapply. NTD's Kevin Hogan has the details.
According to Texas Sheriff A.J. Louderback, the U.S. southern border is more open now than ever in U.S. history. He says new policies by the Biden administration are sending a message to the world that our borders are open. He says Americans will have to pay a price for that. What's more, Louderback says the current administration is now doing something unprecedented in regards to asylum seekers.
This is the first time in U.S. history where the federal government has gone back on rejected asylee applicants in the last year or so, and are reaching out to them to bring them back into the United States and reapply again for asylee status under the Biden administration.
Louderback is the sheriff for Jackson County. It's on a main migrant route from Central America through the Rio Grande Valley and into Houston. He said over the last 2 years when Trump was in office, the border was more secure than it had been in half a century, partly because of Trump's Remain in Mexico program.
So the Trump administration simply said, no, we're going to do migrant protection protocols as we're allowed to do by law, and we're going to do the asylum process, but you're going to have to stay in another country and then make application into the U.S. and then be brought in into an orderly fashion.
But Louderback says Biden completely changed that and is letting migrants into the country, whether they are seeking asylum or not. The sheriff says for the last 3 weeks, over 1,000 people a day are coming across the Rio Grande Valley into the country. And he says the migrants have to pay the Gulf cartel $250 US to get to the border. Louderback does the math.
You're looking at $250,000 a day coming in and funding the cartel for its future violence and future enhancement of all things criminal that go along here in Texas and the United States. So fundamentally, what we've done is promote this. We're allowing the cartels to fund themselves, enrich themselves at the cost of these people.
Louderback says Americans should be concerned about this, and a public outcry can help bring about a resolution. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
The U.S. is strengthening its military presence in the waters of the Indo-Pacific. It's aimed at countering Communist China's increasing aggression in the region. NTD's Don Ma has more.
The U.S. is proposing a new tactic to deter Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific. A new network of missiles would cost close to $30 billion over 6 years. As per Japan-based newspaper Nikkei, the proposal said the military balance in the Indo-Pacific has become unfavorable for the U.S. It argued that without U.S. deterrence, China will have the courage to take military action in the region. Head of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, Admiral Philip Davidson, warned that the greatest danger the United States faces in the region is the erosion of deterrence to China. He added, quote, "We must be doing everything possible to deter conflict. Our #1 job out here is to keep the peace, but we absolutely must be prepared to fight and win should competition turn to conflict." The plan comes in light of China's increased military presence in the South China Sea. Beijing claims sovereignty over much of the region and has built artificial islands and military outposts there. It has laid airstrips on them in an effort to strengthen its military capacity. An international tribunal deemed China's sweeping territorial claims unlawful in 2016. The tribunal said that China had violated international law by endangering ships in the area as well as fishing and oil explorations. The proposal comes amid Beijing's plans to ramp up military spending. On Friday, China's Premier Li Keqiang announced a $200 billion investment plan for China's military for 2021. That's around a 7% increase from 2020's budget. As for the U.S., Congress approved a total defense budget of $690 billion for fiscal year 2021. Reporting by Don Ma, NTD News.
Much of France is under lockdown, and artists are using the time to rehearse. That includes horses. They and their riders keep up the training for the moment they'll perform on stage again.
The castle of Chantilly near Paris has many stories to tell. One story is about its famous horse stables, which are the largest in Europe. King Louis XIV's grandson built the great stables in the 1700s. According to legend, he loved horses so much he thought he'd reincarnate as one, so he built stables worthy of his rank. Around 3 centuries later, horses still live within these walls, with a daily schedule regular as clockwork.
7 a.m., that's their first meal. I have him walked, then I have them walked. They just got out of bed, so that's a warm-up.
After a walk in the forest around the castle, the horses are ready for training, dancing training.
Horses are dancers, high-level athletes. As you see, I'm asking her with my feet to perform a warm-up exercise where she has to cross her legs.
After 3 years of training, it's showtime. The horse will be able to perform with a rider in a small circus. That's the goal for the 27 horses, donkeys, and ponies. Bename's father founded the Horse Museum here, and she follows in his footsteps, carrying on the centuries-old tradition of horse mounting.
The princes were being taught the art of war in the 18th century, the art of hunting. This was a traditional teaching, as was the horse racing tradition in the 19th century.
She said, although the traditions remain, it's different training horses to perform. She said her family also got help from famous American horse trainers like Pat Pirelli and Monty Roberts.
Horse dancing is quite recent. Only the elites did it for some time. Horses have to be confident and trust their riders. There is a strong bond between us. We get to like each other. We spend some time together. Some think they're stars. They also have a personality of their own that we need to go with, so we take advantage of it when we create our shows. We consider each horse's feelings for it. Every horse has a beauty of his own that we showcase.
According to her, some horses are happy to be in the limelight. With lockdown restrictions, the horses haven't seen their audience for about 6 months. The team at the stables hopes they'll be back on stage in April. David Vivez, NTD News, Paris.
Hi, we're happy to announce that you can also catch us on cable TV now. Millions of households already choose us as one of their trusted news sources, and you can too. You can watch us in Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, and many other cities as well. And if your system doesn't carry NTD yet, you can just give them a quick call and request NTD on your cable provider. Thank you for watching. See you next time.